It's been a cold and very thirsty week for some Johannesburg residents like myself. After taps ran dry, Rand Water is conducting maintenance and upgrading pipelines for 5 weeks to improve the water supply system, which has drastically reduced reservoir levels. Areas directly supplied by Rand Water are expected to recover faster, though high-lying areas will face longer disruption. Our reporter Veronica Makhoali has been closely following the story and joins us now live in the studio for an update on the progress of this extensive maintenance project. Good morning, Veronica.
Good morning, Mashtaba.
I greet you with so much jubilation over the fact that I took my first shower in 3 days.
Yeah. I think that's actually the state of a lot of Joburgers now. Reservoirs slowly starting to fill up. You're starting to see water trickling, but there are still some issues in several areas, definitely. I mean, in fact, as we started the week off on Monday with the major work being done at the Iconov pump station. And you'd understand that this is the booster station that supplies majority of the city of Johannesburg with its water supply. And you'd know that Rand Water, of course, is the bulk water supplier. And they've really been speaking about how important this maintenance work has been. We're 2 weeks into it, but of course, this has been the first week for Johannesburg, and the disruptions have been quite immense. This is obviously still regards to the fact that Rand Water is trying to do this kind of maintenance work to make sure that it can sort of boost the integrity of its system, make sure that it's getting to more households, that it's able to supply water to its, to its customers, which is Joburg Water. And throughout the week, they have been giving us regular updates. Work on Iconov, in fact, as we speak now, is pumping at 83% capacity. That is obviously the reason why, Mashaba, you were able to get your first shower in this week. But there were some hiccups, there were some glitches this week. In fact, while work was being done at the Swarkoppies and Iconov at the same time, an Eskom power failure hit maintenance there. And so that really delayed Rand Water's efforts to sort of provide supply to Johannesburg Water. And we saw that really worsening the situation in terms of supply levels. We actually caught up with Joburg Water during the week to try and understand how impactful essentially was that, power failure and its sort of responsibility in regards to drying up the taps. And we spoke to the spokesperson, Nombuso Chabalala, and this is what she had to say about the update.
So, for instance, it'll be our Randburg and Roodepoort reservoirs and towers, which are essentially empty because we have no incoming supply from our bulk supplier. And that is due to, firstly, the ongoing maintenance on Eikenhof, which is up until the 12th of July. And I think as what happened at Zwartkopi somewhat exacerbated the situation. And in terms of the areas that have been affected in terms of our systems within Johannesburg Water, so it's our Randburg and Roodepoort systems, it's the Crown Gardens, it's Eagle's Nest, it's our Commando system, which is Brixton, Crosby and Hurstville, and it's the Johannesburg CBD, including Berea, Parktown, and all those areas surrounding there.
So, Veronica, I'm baffled as to why the communication has come so late. Why are they only telling us this now? I mean, surely they must have known that they need to do maintenance. This could have been detected or would have been detected months, if not years ago. Why do we only hear about it now?
Yeah, Mashaba, I think, it's very important to note that Rand Water, as well as Johannesburg Water, when they carry out any kind of maintenance that could disrupt residents for longer than 24 hours, they are mandated to give notice 21 days ahead of the maintenance work. We did see a lot of that communication coming out from their social media pages, but you'd also understand that, when you are communicating with residents, obviously, if not the work done, by journalists on the ground, if you're communicating with residents on social media, is that actually getting to every member of every single community? This is then obviously comes the need for communication between ward councillors, communication between municipalities and their efforts as well to mitigate any interruptions that can happen. But you are absolutely right to say communication has been a big one. Even those that did manage to get communication, they have been saying that what has been said by the entities in terms of for example, the rate at which water would be pumping, the capacity, would know that between Monday and about Thursday, it was between 50% to 67%. But residents say, nobody was getting water. And so they were saying that even the communication from Joburg Water, which was, do not panic but prepare, that we would still have a supply of water. That was not necessarily the case, was it? And so when you don't have that communication, you then get this situation where residents feel completely frustrated. And we did speak to residents on the ground, and this is just some of the issues that were highlighted this week.
What they told us is that they're only going to shed like 50% of the water. However, now they're coming up with stories that, hey, it's a high lying level and whatsoever, hence we don't have water. So, hey, it's just a frustration on our side.
Yes, we have boreholes on the corner, right next to the clinic. But how long does it last? It's there to serve a community. It's not there to serve just the clinic. What else are they going to do extra for us at the clinic? And this period is so long. What do I say to that sick child that's coming to the clinic? Sorry, I can't open because there's no water. That's not fair.
I've never seen any JoJo tanks from the government or anything, or even the trucks coming to supply us with water. None of them has ever come. Whenever they come, they just pass us through. They don't even bother to ask us if we have enough water, who's helping us, or any of that.
Veronica, no one saw this coming. Is there any chance that this could happen again in the near or far future?
Well, Mashaba, we are only, as I said, now officially 2 weeks into the water maintenance work that's about to, take place right until the end of July. That's the 29th of July. So major disruptions definitely still expected, especially because from Monday, from tomorrow, Rand Water will now be taking its major project to its Palmeet as well as its Mapleton systems. We know that this is about to affect areas such as Midrand and Sandton. And so if we are starting to see, a pickup in suburbs in the north and the west of Johannesburg, we are not entirely sure how this could again affect other residents. And you'd understand that the biggest concern is the recovery. The biggest concern is how we are using water. And you're finding that in areas where there is water now, they are using it faster than Joburg Water's infrastructure can replenish. And of course, again, coming to that issue of high-lying areas. And so the work that is being done is essentially to mitigate this, that when work takes place at Rand Water, the bulk water supplier, Joburg's infrastructure is left under immense strain, under a lot of pressure. And so what they're trying to do is a term which I learned recently this week, spending some time with Randburg Water officials, is increase flexibility. And this is about essentially its pipelines, the connectedness, making sure that there is further reach and an increased capacity. But speaking about recovery, we did as well catch up with Joburg Water's operations manager, and he gave us some sort of a not very straightforward answer, because the reality is what every resident wants to know is, when will the water come back? And his response, well, it's debatable.
Let's see.
The first 2 days will be where we are stabilizing the system, looking for airlocks, because when there is no water, the air is in the system. So we need to get rid of that air. So the first 2 to 3 days, we are still trying to recharge and flush the system so that the water can settle in and be able to fully charge on the system. Then the first week will now give us the retention. We're filling up the reservoir until the customers are fully supplied. Now the water will always follow the dravid. All the high-lying areas will always be restored last. And that's unfortunately, the water systems are quite complex in that sense, that the low-lying areas will have water continuously, while the high-lying areas will only be restored last. So we give us the first week to be able, after the completion of the maintenance, we'll start be able to gradually supply the areas until fully recovered.
So what exactly is he saying?
Yeah.
There's air in the system, and then please make it make sense.
It's a very complicated system.
Yeah.
Supplying water to Johannesburg is complex. And so essentially, because of the water maintenance that's been happening at Iconoff Pump Station, supply to Randburg's systems, which is its reservoirs and towers, has gone empty. Joburg Water has confirmed this, that this week that they had no supply coming through. And that means there is a vacuum of air, essentially, that has now gathered within, the reservoirs. And so before... Yes,
What's crazy is that it has been said, it was said years ago, that the next world war will be fought over water.
Absolutely.
And we took it lightly.
Yeah. And you'd have to understand that when there's air in the system and water comes back in, this is what we then see creating sort of burst pipes, because we've got these air bubbles within the system. And that is literally the intricacies and the fragility, if I could say, of Joburg Water's infrastructure, that even when there is water, they need a period to recover. And that is why they've also been calling for patience from residents as the system starts to recover. But that is also what leads us to today's work. The groundwork today is to be speaking to experts about water conservation. We'll also be speaking to residents, Joburg residents, to see how they've been mitigating essentially this week and their preparedness for the next 5 weeks. One common theme that I've been seeing throughout the report this week is that we're still not having the conversation about how to save water and how to be better consumers of water.
Oh, I love that. How to be better consumers of water. Veronica Makhoali, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.